International Monetary Fund, and we'll take a quick look at their Twitter in a second as well. They say crypto assets as national currency, a step too far. So on the IMF blog, it says I need some more coffee. Thank you for your patience. So, new digital forms of money have the potential to provide cheaper and faster payments, enhance financial inclusion, improve resilience and competition among payment providers, and facilitate cross-border transfers. But doing so is not so straightforward. It requires significant investment as well as difficult policy choices, such as clarifying the role of the public and private sectors in providing and regulating digital forms of money. Some countries may be tempted by a shortcut, adopting crypto assets as national securities or currencies. Many are indeed secure, easy to access and cheap to transact. We believe, however, that in most cases, risks and costs outweigh potential benefits. Crypto assets are privately issued tokens based on cryptographic techniques and denominated in their own unit of account. Their value can be extremely volatile. Bitcoin, for instance, reached a peak of $65,000 in April and crashed to less than half that value 2 months later. Just on that note, it's important to remember that the market is very volatile, but that is because it is still in its infancy, and which says to me that it's still a good time to invest with long-term plans. Because as the market increases and grows, it will become more stable naturally. Okay. The same way that at one point, like blue chip and tech companies were also seen as high risk investments, and we know how that went as well. So, and yet Bitcoin lives on. For some, it is an opportunity to transact anonymously, for good or bad. For others, it is a means to diversify portfolios and hold a speculative asset that can bring riches but also significant losses. Crypto assets are thus fundamentally different from other kinds of digital money. Central banks, for instance, are considering issuing digital currencies, also known as CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, digital money issued in the form of a liability of the central bank. Private companies are also pushing the frontier with money that can be sent over mobile phones, popular in East Africa and China, and with stablecoins, whose value depends on the safety and liquidity of backing assets. Crypto assets as legal tender. Bitcoin and its peers have mostly remained on the fringes of finance and payments, yet some countries are actively considering granting crypto assets legal tender status, and even making these a second or potentially only national currency. If a crypto asset were granted legal tender status, it would have to be accepted by creditors in payment of monetary obligations, including taxes similar to notes and coins, currency, issued by the central bank. Countries can even go further by passing laws to encourage the use of crypto assets as a national currency, that is, as an official monetary unit, in which monetary obligations can be expressed, and a mandatory means of payment for everyday purchases. Crypto assets are unlikely to catch on in countries with stable inflation and exchange rates, and credible institutions. Households and businesses would have very little incentive to price or save in a parallel crypto asset such as Bitcoin, even if it were given legal tender or currency status. their value is just too volatile and unrelated to the real economy. Even in relatively less stable economies, the use of a globally recognized reserve currency such as the dollar or euro would likely be more alluring than adopting a crypto asset. A crypto asset might catch on as a vehicle for unbanked people to make payments, but not to store value. It would be immediately exchanged into real currency upon receipt. Then again, real currency may not always be readily available, nor easily transferable. Moreover, in some countries, laws forbid or restrict payments in other forms of money. These could tip the balance towards widespread use of crypto assets. Proceed with caution. The most direct cost of widespread adoption of a crypto asset, such as Bitcoin, is to macroeconomic stability. If goods and services were priced in both a real currency and a crypto asset, households and businesses would spend significant time and resources choosing which money to hold as opposed to engaging in productive activities. Similarly, government revenues would be exposed to exchange rate risk if taxes were quoted in advance in a crypto asset, while expenditures remained mostly in the local currency, or vice versa. Also, monetary policy would lose bite. Central banks cannot set interest rates on a foreign currency. Usually, when a country adopts a foreign currency as its own, it imports the credibility of the foreign monetary policy and hope to bring its economy and interest rates in line with the foreign business cycle. Neither of these is possible in the case of widespread crypto asset adoption. As a result, domestic prices could become highly unstable. Even if all prices were quoted in, say, Bitcoin, the prices of imported goods and services would still fluctuate massively following the whims of market valuations. Financial integrity could also suffer. Without robust anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism measures, crypto assets can be used to launder ill-gotten money, fund terrorism, and evade taxes, which cash money has been used since it has come into existence. If anything, cash is the most anonymous form of currency. This could pose risks to a country's financial system, fiscal balance, and relationships with foreign countries and correspondent banks. The Financial Action Task Force has set a standard for how virtual assets and related service providers should be regulated to limit financial integrity risks, but enforcement of that standard is not yet consistent across countries, which can be problematic given the potential for cross-border activities. Further legal issues arise. Legal tender status requires that a means of payment be widely accessible. However, internet access and technology needed to transfer crypto assets remains scarce in many countries. Is my alarm going off? I don't know if you heard that. However, the internet access and technology needed to transfer crypto assets remains scarce in many countries, raising issues about fairness and financial inclusion. Moreover, the official monetary unit must be sufficiently stable in value to facilitate its use for medium to long-term monetary obligations. And changes to a country's legal tender status and monetary unit typically require complex and widespread changes to monetary law to avoid creating a disjointed legal system. In addition, banks and other financial institutions could be exposed to the massive fluctuations in crypto asset prices. It is not clear whether prudential regulation against exposures to foreign currency or risky assets in banks could be upheld if Bitcoin, for instance, were given legal tender status. Moreover, Widespread crypto asset use would undermine consumer protection. Households and businesses could lose wealth through large swings in value, fraud, or cyber attacks. While the technology underlying crypto assets has proven extremely robust, technical glitches could occur. In the case of Bitcoin, recourse is difficult as there is no legal issuer. Finally, mined crypto assets such as Bitcoin require an enormous amount of electricity to power the computer networks that verify transactions. The ecological implications of adopting these crypto assets as a national currency could be dire. Striking a balance. As national currency, crypto assets, including Bitcoin, come with substantial risks to macro-financial stability, financial integrity, consumer protection, and the environment. The advantages of their underlying technologies, including the potential for cheaper and more inclusive financial services, should not be overlooked. Governments, however, need to step up to provide these services and leverage new digital forms of money while preserving stability, efficiency, equality, and environmental stability. Attempting to make crypto assets a national currency is an inadvisable shortcut. Now, so that is the opinions of two people, Tobias Adrian and Rhoda Weeks Brown. On the IMF blog, it's important to remember the same thing as the World Economic Forum. They also have a blog where some individual posted a blog piece where they said, this is the famous one where I think everyone has heard it by now, where they talk about the future and they said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. So this is a way for these guys to put out, I mean, you know, they're putting it out on their blog. So it's, you know, do we consider it official, or is it still just an opinion piece by two people? But they can just claim, oh, it's just an opinion piece. But others would say that it is a way for them to put out their opinions of the opinions of the institution. But let me know what you think about that, guys. Crypto assets as national currency. Should we move quicker into perhaps national digital currencies, a worldwide digital currency? How do you feel about digital currencies? I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, and we can definitely talk about more about that at another time. Just quickly on this post, I just want to go over a few interesting comments on the IMF's Twitter page. So, IMF News on Twitter. Privately issued crypto assets like Bitcoin come with substantial risks, making them equivalent to a national currency, an inadvisable shortcut. Read more in our IMF blog by the IMF's Tobias Adrian and Rhoda Weeks Brown. And the comments here. Danielle Krupka. Who voted for you? I didn't vote for you. I don't think anyone reading this voted for you. So who are you? And what gives you the right to rule over what I want to do with my finances? Bitcoin Leota 37. I think it's time we revise the terminology. Government money is privately issued and Bitcoin is publicly issued. Government must fall. Son of Thor. Very interesting. How do you intend to protect yourself and your money system from the Chinese once the government has fallen? One Huddle. Bitcoin is the only free market global currency in the world. The IMF's best days have passed, and soon you will realize the new economy has no need for a rent-seeking organization such as the IMF. Bitcoin Mutant. Privately issued crypto assets like Bitcoin. Is this the knowledge that International Monetary Fund has of BTC? In my opinion, you should start doing your own research as soon as possible about new economic disruptors and try to understand why new networks of people are auto-assembling. Maybe people are tired of fiat. Bar better. Don't make me laugh. My parents bought their house in 1977 for £55,000. The same house sold last year for £550,000. Inflation is tax. You guys need to get a real job and stop pretending to the poor that you are the fix when we all know you are the problem. We want Bitcoin now. Captain Obvious. 5.4% annual inflation rate, in case anyone was wondering. And XRP Wave. The advantages of their underlying technologies, including the potential for cheaper and more inclusive financial services, should not be overlooked. This sounds really like XRP. Open your eyes. It's time to switch. Hashtag XRP the standard. Okay. We have time for a couple more things. I'll try and get through these as quickly as possible.